Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one. Give them. Okay.
They're the same picture.
Hello Internet, Jojo here, and welcome to Idea Shock. Guys, I just gotta say, I saw this fight coming from a mile away. I saw the reaction it got when it was a community death battle. It got far more interaction than Death Battle's usual Twitter posts, and was on par with the likes of Captain Falcon vs Johnny Cage and All Might vs My Guy. So, like Thanos, this fight was inevitable. Now, it's said that the best predictor of the future is the past. So, in order to make an accurate prediction of this fight, we have to look at the previous fights that Death Battle has done. And luckily, there has already been 2 death battles with characters from Avatar and 1 character from My Hero Academia. But considering that Zuko is Aang's rival, we are going to take a closer look at Aang vs Edward. Also, they don't give any actual calculations in Toph vs Gaara, so there's that. In this death battle, we are told a lot about Aang, but there are only a few calculations that we need to pay attention to. First thing we need to note is Aang is very fast. Death Battle calculated that when he redirected this lightning bolt, he must have been moving at about 53,000 meters per second or Mach 155. The second thing to remember is that without the Avatar state, Aang moved this pillar and it weighs about 9,427 tons. For reference, that means this pillar is the weight of about 42 train cars. Third is that in Avatar state, Aang was capable of generating about 159 kilotons of TNT to destroy the ground around the city. The fourth and final thing is from this card they put in the corner. This states that other avatars have caused volcanoes to erupt, and that could put them in the gigaton range. However, Aang only has access to this power when he is in the Avatar state, and while I don't know for sure because I haven't watched Avatar, I doubt Zuko has ever matched that kind of power. So, assuming that Zuko scales to Aang, we have him moving at Mach 155, physically be able to move a 9,400 ton pillar and generate about 159.9 kilotons of TNT. We should also not forget that Zuko is highly skilled in hand-to-hand combat and is a combat veteran. However, Todoroki just blows all those numbers out of the water. He is able to react to both Bakugo and Ida, who have dodged lightning or moved too fast for someone who has dodged lightning to react to. This means that while Zuko is Mach 155, Todoroki is likely far faster, probably somewhere around Mach 286 to Mach 425. Now, I did see a calculation online somewhere that Zuko was around Mach 500, but I couldn't find the source. Also, I feel like Death Battle would have mentioned that in Edward vs Aang. Even when we scale this pillar moving feat to Zuko, Todoroki still comes out on top as he was able to make this massive iceberg. Comparing the ice to the arena and then assuming its shape, we can find it's about 50,000 cubic meters of ice. Considering that ice weighs about 996 kilograms per cubic meter, we find that Todoroki created about 55,000 tons of ice. That is about 5.88 times heavier than the pillar that Aang moved. Taking the energy for both fusion and vaporization of water, we find that for Todoroki to make this glacier, he must have been able to generate 31.17 kilotons of TNT. Now, this might seem to give the power advantage to Zuko, and it would if that was the only thing we had to compare him to. Not only has Todoroki taken Bakugo's 172 kiloton howitzer impact and the 234 kiloton punch from Deku, but he should be comparable to them in terms of power as well, and both of these are much greater than Aang's canyon carving feat. This is assuming that Zuko even scales to this, because according to Death Battle, Aang was in the Avatar state when he did this. So even if Zuko could match his power, he is still much weaker than characters like Bakugo or Deku, and the greatest feat that I've seen Zuko do is when he survived being in the middle of this boat exploding. However, that's not even comparable to whatever Todoroki has done. Not to mention that Todoroki took a blast from Gang Orca, and Gang Orca's blasts are powerful enough to knock out Shindo, whose quirk is about him using vibrations to make earthquakes. In fact, one of Shindo's first quakes was so powerful that it could be felt all the way across the arena. Using the starting room as our ruler, and then using various panels and landmarks to find the general location of where the quake reached, we end up with this quake reaching about 486 meters away from the epicenter. For a quake to reach this distance, it must have had the equivalent of a 5.68 magnitude earthquake, or worth about 5.123 kilotons of TNT. If you assume that there's a 10 decibel difference between what Gang Orca can release and what Shindo can release, then he could be in the several megaton range of defense. However, you could also make the argument that Gang Orca was holding back. That said, Todoroki is likely as fast or faster, as strong or stronger, and far more durable than Zuko. Not to mention that Todoroki has far more experience fighting a much wider range of opponents, while Zuko mostly fights benders, and while some characters can use water to make ice, from what I understand, there's no such person as an ice bender. So, not only was Todoroki trained by a fire user and can use fire himself, but he can also keep himself from overheating by using his ice to cool himself. Now, I have not watched Avatar, but if Zuko can bend Todoroki's fire, then he might have a better chance. But if he does, Todoroki can just use it in bursts to warm himself while he uses his ice to fight. Zuko's best chance is to get in close and use hand-to-hand to take him down. However, there is still a negative effect. Todoroki can freeze any part of his body that Zuko touches, much like what he did with Ida. Not to mention that Todoroki is so much faster than he is. While Zuko can move at Mach 155, Todoroki has been dodging attacks from Ida, who is faster than a bolt of lightning, and Bakugo, who has dodged close-range lightning. On top of all this, there's also the fact that Todoroki has incredibly high fire resistance. Though, being a firebender, Zuko should have a similar resistance. But that just means that Todoroki just has to switch to his primary quirk, Ice. In both short and long, I think it's clear that Todoroki is going to win. Of course, the numbers that Death will give might be different than the numbers I use, as they very likely use a different process to find these numbers, but from my calculations and the feats that I've seen, Todoroki should take the win with relative ease. What this comes down to is the fact that in Avatar, they're just normal humans with abilities, but characters from My Hero Academia are above superhuman and have power to match. Of course, what do I know? Maybe Zuko has done something that I missed. That would be cool. As it stands, it looks like Todoroki's going to take the win. That said, guys, thanks for watching. See you next time. Remember to stay spectacular. Jojo,